Hello everyone, and welcome to my monk build for Baldur's Gate 3. In this guide, I'll show you how to build one of the most destructive and mobile characters in the entire game. This build will enable you to attack 11 times, dealing up to 660 single target damage per turn, and with a finger snap, decimate an entire group of enemies, even on honor mode. In this guide, I'll provide you with all the information you need, from character creation to leveling up, feats to consider, elusive powers, as well as gear choices from Act 1, 2, and all the way to Act 3. So without any further delay, let's get started. Just by choosing Monk, you get arguably one of the strongest abilities any class can get at level 1, and that is Flurry of Blows. This allows the Monk to attack twice using your bonus action and one chi point. This is going to be your bread and butter for the majority of your playthrough. Every time you have one chi point and a bonus action, you will want to use Flurry of Blows. Ki or chi is a special resource unique to monks that expands their capabilities. For now, you can use it on Flurry of Blows, but as you progress, you will unlock more abilities to spend it on. You can replenish your chi points after a short rest. You will also get other class features as a monk, but I want to focus on unarmored defense and martial arts bonus unarmed strike. Unarmored defense enables the monks to add their wisdom modifier to their total armor class AC if they are not wearing armor. This is very similar to the barbarian class, with the exception that barbarians use their constitution modifier instead of wisdom. If you are curious what qualifies as armor, any piece of gear that says light, medium, or heavy is considered armor. To see if your character benefits from unarmored defense, simply open your character sheet and hover over your armor class. Next, martial arts bonus unarmed strike. Every time you strike your target, even if you miss, you can use your bonus action to attack a second time. As I mentioned earlier, you always want to use your bonus action on Flurry of Blows as long as you have one chi point to spend. But if you run out of chi or simply the target is too low to waste chi point on, you can use unarmed strike with your bonus action. For this build, I recommend that you play Astarion as a monk, and I will explain why later in this guide. But if you are determined to create your own character, I would recommend Half Elf because you gain proficiency in sheaves to improve your armor class, along with useful perks like Dark Vision and Fey Ancestry. Also, make sure to choose Wood Half Elf Subrace for the extra movement speed. The main abilities we are going to focus on for this build are Strength and Wisdom. The reason we are going to rely on Strength for attack rolls and damage instead of Dexterity is because of the Tavern Brawler feat at level 4, but more on that later. You might be curious why our Strength score is only 8, after all this is a Strength-based build. The reason is that we rely on Strength elixirs throughout the entire game to boost our Strength score. Additionally, this approach allows us to allocate more points to other crucial abilities. Don't worry, I'll show you how to get an unlimited supply of Strength elixirs starting from Act 1. Dexterity will increase our total armor class and also dictate who goes first in combat. You will also rely on Dexterity to determine your attack rolls until you reach level 4 and unlock the Tavern Brawler feat. Constitution will increase your total hit points, hence your survivability. Wisdom is the second most important ability for monks after Strength. It contributes to your total armor class if you are not using any armor. Later down the road, you will obtain a certain item that will allow you to add your Wisdom modifier to your unarmed damage. Wisdom modifier will also be added towards manifestation damage dice at level 6. Outside of combat, Wisdom directly influences useful skills like Perception and Survival to uncover hidden clues around the world. Add the +1 bonus to Dexterity and the +2 bonus to Wisdom, set Strength to 8, Dexterity to 16, Constitution to 15, and boost Charisma and Intelligence to 8. Set Wisdom to 17 if you are planning to spare Ethel the Hag in Act 1 and accept her boon to boost your Wisdom score to a total of 18. If you are not planning to spare her or want to give the boon to a different character in your party, that's alright. In Act 3, I'll show you the location of an amulet that gives +1 to Wisdom score. For the background, I chose Outlander, and for the skills, I chose Acrobatics and Insight. At level 2, you gain unarmored movement, which improves your movement speed as long as you are not wearing armor or using a shield. You will also expand the use of your chi points with 3 different abilities. For one chi point and a bonus action, the Patient Defense will bolster your survivability by giving a disadvantage to every enemy that tries to strike you for one turn. I especially enjoy the Step of the Wind dash. This will double your movement speed and remove the bonus action cost on your jumps. It is simply hilarious how far you can jump around in a single turn when using this ability. At level 3 you get to choose your subclass. We want the Way of the Open Hand. This will enhance your level 1 Flurry of Blows into 3 different actions. For the most part I was simply using Flurry of Blows Topple to knock enemies prone. Knocking your enemies prone gives you, as well as your party, advantage when striking them down. As a reaction, you can use Deflect Missile to reduce incoming missile damage taken, and if you reduce the damage to 0, you can spend 1 Chi point to send back the projectile for some really nice ranged damage. However, sometimes the projectile hits structures between you and the enemy archer, so be mindful of that when using Deflect Missile. At level 4 is where the magic happens. We are going for Tavern Brawler, which is an insanely strong feat. Tavern Brawler allows you to add your strength modifier twice to boost your attack rolls and damage dice. To fully grasp how powerful this is, using Elixir of Hellgiant Strength, which sets your strength score to 21, means you will be able to add plus 10 to both your attack rolls as well as damage dice. This means you will hit like a truck and rarely miss your attacks. This gets even better once you gain access to Elixir of Cloud Strength, increasing that number to plus 16. Tavern Brawler also gives you an extra ability point to spend in either Strength or Constitution. Invest that 1 point in Constitution to bring the ability score to 16. At level 5 you get extra attack. After every successful attack using your action points, you get to attack a second time. This gives us a total of 4 attacks in a single round, 2 using your action point and 2 using your bonus action if you have at least 1 Chi point to spend on Flurry of Blows. You will also gain access to stunning strikes to apply crowd control when needed by stunning your target for 1 turn. Level 6 is kind of a big deal for monks. Manifestation of Body, Mind and Soul will enhance your unarmed attacks with a different types of damage like Radiant, Psychic and Necrotic, further increasing the damage output of every attack you land. However, you can't have more than one of those passives active at any given time, but you can freely switch the type of damage during combat for free. The damage of this manifestation is d4 plus your wisdom modifier. Go to the passive tab and make sure at least one of those manifestations is active. You will also get Wholeness of Body. This will immediately heal you and replenish half your Chi points, and for 3 turns, you regain 1 Chi point every turn, but more importantly, you get a temporary bonus action to use during the time. This can be used once per long rest, so you want to save this for big battles. Ideally, you should try to cast it before entering combat. You also gain improved unarmored movement, further improving your movement speed given you are not wearing armor or holding a shield. Finally, Chi Empowered Strikes. Your unarmed attacks count as magical for the purpose of overcoming enemies' resistance and immunity to non-magical damage. I'll be honest, when I first read this ability I was like, whoa, does that mean my attacks will deal full damage now regardless if the target has resistance or not? The answer is yes and no. You see, there are 2 types of resistance in this game, magical and non-magical. You can easily find out by inspecting your target and hovering over resistance. If it says non-magical resistance, then yes, Chi Empowered Strikes will enable you to penetrate the resistance and deal full damage. If the target has both magical and non-magical resistance, then your damage will be halved regardless. Another quick way to check is by looking at those small arrows. The white one represents the non-magical resistance, while the blue one is for the magical resistance. At level 7 you get Evasion. Normally when a target succeeds in a saving throw against a spell, they only take half damage. However, as a monk, if you succeed in a dexterity saving throw against any spell, you don't take any damage at all. You also get Stillness of Mind. This will automatically snap you out of any charm or fear effect for the cost of 1 action point. At level 8 you gain another feat, take ability improvement and increase your wisdom score by +2. It is no secret that Monk is one of the best single target damage dealers in Baldur's Gate 3, but at level 9 you become one of the best AoE damage dealer as well. Chi Resonation Punch enables you to plant a resonating bomb on your target using your action and bonus action. while Sheer Resonation Blast will detonate that resonating bomb as well as any bomb in close proximity to the main target. The idea is to group up as many targets as possible. A laser power black hole can certainly help with that, and plant as many resonated bombs, then use Sheer Resonation Blast in the center of the group to create a big explosion that will decimate all nearby enemies. If you are curious what happens if a target dies when you are setting up your resonating bomb, the answer is you can still detonate the bomb on their corpses. You also gain advanced unarmored movement to make sure difficult terrain no longer slows you down, as well as improve your jump distance given you are not wearing armor or holding a shield. From level 10 we are going to multi-class into the Rogue class, and more specifically the Thief subclass. We are doing this to unlock fast hands at level 3 Rogue, which provides us with an additional bonus action to use. This will give us a total of 2 bonus actions and 1 action point to use every turn, so you can strike your targets up to 6 times without using haste or wholeness of body. Multiclass in the Rogue class also provides you with 1 proficiency point and 2 expertise points that you can spend on specific skills. You could have potentially started this adventure as a Rogue because you get more proficiency points to spend this way, as well as wider variety of skills choices like perception and sleight of hands to choose from. Now let's explore your gear choices, starting from Act 1. Bracers of defense can be obtained from inside a secret chamber below the Blighted Village in Act 1. It provides you with a +2 bonus to your armor class as long as you are not wearing armor. Hest's Helm improves your movement speed for 3 turns at the beginning of each fight. You can find it in a locked chest in the center of Blighted Village. Crusher's Ring will improve your movement speed. Boots of Genius Riding will make you unhindered by any difficult terrain. You can also use Disintegrating Nightwalker's Boots, which gives you 1 use of Misty Step per short rest. The best chest piece you can get until Act 3 is the Graceful Gloss. It will increase your dexterity score by +2 and give you an advantage on dexterity checks. You can buy this chest piece from Lady Esther. She also sells gloves of Cinder and Sizzle, making your unarmed attacks deal an additional D4 fire damage. If you are feeling tanky enough, you can use them instead of bracers of defense. In Act 2 you should aim to get Cloak of Protection to boost your total armor class by +1. Evasive Shoes increases both your armor class and acrobatics by +1. If you decide to use shields, Sentinel Shield provides a +3 bonus to initiative as well as an advantage on perception checks. Ring of Free Action is certainly a good one to have for any melee class, including Monk. These are the essential items that I believe you should obtain before you reach Act 3. Now let's take a look at the endgame gear for your Monk class. The first endgame item is the Boots of Uninhibited Kushigo. These boots will enable you to add your Wisdom modifier to your bludgeoning damage dice. You can miss this item, so I'll show you exactly where you can get it, hopefully without spoiling too much of the story. At the end of Act 2, you will be teleported to the Astral Plane, where you have to fight a bunch of Githyanki monks. Surrounded by dead Githyanki and Intellect Devourers, your boots can be found in the possession of Prelate Cleric. Cloak of Displacement gives a disadvantage to attack rolls that target your character until you take any damage. However, the effect will refresh at the beginning of your turn. The best helmet for your monk has to be the Mask of Soul Perception. It gives a +2 bonus to attack and initiative rolls, as well as perception checks. This can be found inside a chest on the 2nd floor at Devil's Fee in Lower City. Vest of Soul Rejuvenation is the best chest piece for your monk. It gives D4 hit points if you succeed in a saving throw against any spell. It also boosts your armor class by +2, and as a reaction, you can make an armed strike against enemies that misses you. Sometimes I purposely provoke an attack of opportunity to trigger the Greater Kushigo counter. I noticed that you can get an extra attack after triggering Greater Kushigo counter using this method if you are not hasted. You can purchase Vests of Soul Rejuvenation from Sorcerer's Sundries in the lower city of Baldur's Gate. One of the strongest items for your monk is Gloves of Soul Catching. You can obtain this item at the end of House of Hope. It will cause your unarmed strikes to deal an additional D10 force damage. It also increases your constitution score by +2. After scoring an unarmed strike, the gloves give you an option to regain 10 hit points. However, if you don't use that free healing, you will get an advantage on both your attack rolls as well as saving throws until the end of your next turn. So ideally, you should not be using that free healing. Hell's Gift is the only item in the game that gives +1 to wisdom score. You can find this amulet in Jaheira's hideout next to Baldur's Gate portal. To access Jaheira's hideout, enter her study room in her house and use harp-shaped pin in the pin slot on the side of the desk to reveal the secret passage. There are 3 known locations for the pin, but I'll show you 2 locations that are very close. The first one is on the top of the house itself inside an old pouch. The second pin is found in a child's position inside the house's second floor. If you bring Jaheira with you, he will give her the pin. Enter the hideout and pass the traps by using a spell that corresponds with each trap, like Firebolt, Ray Frost, Lightning Bolt, and Poison Spray. Inside the old house, the amulet can be found inside a display case behind an old bookcase that you can lockpick after succeeding a perception check. Finally, Helmet of Grit. This is a high risk, high reward kind of item. It will give you an additional bonus action to use, so you can potentially land 2 additional attacks in the same turn if you are at 50% or less maximum hit points. I personally don't like this helmet, at least for this build, because you will lose so much mobility advantage as well as armor class since this is a light armor. Also, maintaining that low HP threshold is simply cumbersome and fatal in other mode. For the illicit powers, I usually take favorable beginnings on all my characters. This is a useful in and out of combat. Luck of the Far Realm and Ability Drain are also useful. However, you have to take Call the Weak on your monk because it has insane synergy with Resonation Blast. Every time you set up a big AoE, Call the Weak can start a chain reaction that can decimate an entire group of enemies close to each other. That's why I also recommend Black Hole to group enemies closer together, as well as apply the slow debuff. Keep in mind that Call the Weak becomes stronger relative to the number of illicit powers invested. That's why I invest any extra illicit powers I have into my monk to boost the effectiveness of Call the Weak. Tavern Brawler Monk is a strength-based build, and as promised, I'll show you how to farm an unlimited amount of strength elixir that will last you your entire playthrough. Vendors in Baldur's Gate 3 will refresh their stock in at least 2 cases. For example, if your party took a long rest, that's why some guys recommend that you take a long rest and go back to check vendor for new stock. This is simply boring and tedious at best. The other case where vendors refresh their stock is when a party member levels up. The optimal way to do this is to either retrain your character or hire a new party member and sit next to the vendor level once and then check the vendor for stock. You can simply do this as many times as you need by retraining the character every time you reach the max level. You can use this method in Act 1 to farm Elixir of Hellgiant Strength from Der's Booncloak in the Myconid colony in the Underdark. The best thing about this vendor is that at level 6, she has a chance to sell Cloud Giant Finger. This means you can craft Cloud Giant Elixir as early as Act 1. Most vendors in Act 2 and 3 have a chance to sell Elixir of Cloud Giant Strength. If you really want to optimize this farm, you can place a party member at a different vendor level once and check each vendor for stock before you level again. I mentioned at the beginning of this guide that you should not create a new character and instead play Astarion as your monk. The reason is that at the end of his story, you can gain an ability that will add D10 necrotic damage to your unarmed attacks, which is huge considering that you can attack up to 11 times in a single turn. In Act 3, you can use Mirror of Loss to boost your wisdom score by +2. Although I could use it with Astarion, I had to forfeit the Forbidden Knowledge passive that comes from deciphering the Necromancy of Say. I wonder if you can keep the knowledge as well as the Mirror Wisdom buff by deciphering the book after using the mirror. The way you play this build is by using Wholeness of Body as well as his buff on your monk before entering combat. If you also know there's going to be a lot of movement, use Step of the Wind Dash. This will give you 3 bonus actions as well as 2 action points to attack 10 times, and if you provoked an attack of opportunity while wearing Vests of Soul Rejuvenation, you can land an extra attack using your reaction. This is fairly simple and powerful build that doesn't require any setup like my Lightning Sorcerer build. However, that Lightning build is flat out broken. Make sure to check it out if you haven't already. I recently finished the game using this monk build in honor mode and it could not have been an easier run. This brings this guide to an end. Thanks so much for watching. I'd like to thank everyone who supported me and my channel with their kind comments as well as constructive feedback. If you have any ideas or tips on how to improve this build or my content in general, please let me know. Once again, thanks for watching and have a great day.